Greetings from Costa Rica and welcome to our Thursday Real Estate Forum. It's February 16th, 2023, which is a pretty important date because just to my left, we have the ongoing live results of the Barca Man United game. That's right, folks. I am missing my team's qualifying match, or rather the first leg of it, at Barcelona so that I can be with you, my Costa Rica real estate investors, clients, friends, family, really this entire massive following that has just grown into the worldwide phenomenon that I'm self-deprecatingly referring to right now. Greetings from Costa Rica. My name is Matt Rosensteel. I'm owner-broker of Coldwell Banker Pacific Realty, here based in Playa Guanacaste. Every week, live, Thursday at noon, I'm looking at real estate listings that viewers have sent to me. I put up a QR code on the screen so that you can use your phone at home to scan it and then go to the link of the listing. It's really fun and interactive in that way. So essentially, we're going to be giving any kind of general comments about questions that people have about real estate and they've posted in our forums, and specifically listings, always with the goal of empowering people with as much information as possible to make wise decisions in Costa Rica. Because let's be clear, Costa Rica isn't for everyone. You do have to be very wise and choose your team correctly. You have to be extremely deliberate in who you trust if you're considering investing in real estate here. And I just want to give my general comments to help anyone and everyone out there about any possible listing, whether it's close to my community here in Junquillal in the Tamarindo area or another part of the country. I have to admit today, the real estate forum will be definitely as brief as possible so that I might be able to catch a little bit of that ongoing Barca Man United match. But also, to be quite honest, my incredible team member, Dimitri, is currently on a train in Europe. We've had difficulty putting together all kinds of listings, and I have three things that I want to talk about first. I'll answer these three questions that we have. If you have further questions, you can post them in the comments, or if you want to see a listing, feel free to post the link or send me information so that I can find it. I think that YouTube might not let you just post any old link in there, but do try and identify which property you're asking me about. You could put in there, hey, Matt, talk about the Villa Verde 2 project in Tamarindo, and I'd be more than happy to give you some thoughts and even bring up real data if I'm able to do so. Without further ado, let's begin our real estate forum. I obviously have to update the episode. We're on number 3 here, but just so I remember to throw that in there, we're going to first talk about a question that a viewer had posted. This was from Geo Travel Mundo. Thank you very much for watching my channel. They are looking at buying a pre-construction condo in Barrio Escalante in San Jose. I'm not going to pull up a specific listing for this particular question because, frankly, the condos in San Jose are all unknown to me. I couldn't differentiate between different developers, who's involved, where the money's coming from, etc. But I could offer general comments on buying pre-construction condos and some of the things that I would think about if I were in your position, Geo Travel Mundo. First and foremost, I would be very interested to ask any developer in Costa Rica what percentage of their project is already funded by existing cash flow versus the sales of their units. And you see a lot of different levels of funding for developers here. And I would do my best to understand and focus on finding developers who were absolutely going to build the project using their own cash and be selling condos throughout the construction process, really just to sell the building. One of the easy ways to try and gauge this from a third-party perspective is to get an idea for how desperate their sales program is, really, and to see how much they're trying to get people to pay into that cash flow very early on. If you've got developers who say, look, we're taking $5,000 reservation deposits on our condos, and you won't actually pay more than that until we've built them and you're closing, that's a great sign that they don't actually need your money. If they have a sales program where they're showing that everybody is going to be paying tier after tier of payments, very early in construction, that would start to set off a few alarm bells, and I would really want to ask for further detail, just because really you do see people whose business plans in Costa Rica can revolve around, we'll have this income from the sales and pre-sales of our condos, and that's how we're going to build the building. Well, you don't want to be one of the first 5, 10, 15 people who have bought in, and the economy crashes and their business plan doesn't work out. So that's my first and foremost concern with any pre-construction project. I always really want to understand how your payments go into the developer's cash flow. And of course, look for that developer's background, their recently completed projects. If they've got a bunch of other successful examples where they have happy residents currently in their condos, don't hesitate to get on Facebook. Try and get yourself into those condo groups or in the social media where those people are, and see, are these developers actually producing consistent quality results? If this is the developer's first rodeo, if they're entirely unknown and they don't have a lot of other successful projects, it would make me more inclined to wait until the building was absolutely finished and pay more for a condo to mitigate the risk of working with someone unknown. So while I apologize that I can't speak specifically to Barrio Escalante and the condo projects that are happening there, that's sort of the beginning of the approach I would take. And from there, once you've found out that everybody in the project checks out, I would forcefully insist that you get your own people working for you as a public notary to close the sale and inspectors to look at the construction project. Very often you'll see developers say, don't worry, we have an in-house legal counsel who will take care of everything for you, so that it's easiest, and we have the contracts just as formats, on and on. Don't work with a seller's legal counsel. Find your own representative, even if it's going to cost more money and complicate the deal. You want it to be as complicated as possible to make sure your interests are protected. And again, with the inspectors, if the seller is saying, look, we'll have somebody check it out, we have mechanical engineers that produce nationally certified reports, that's all great. But say, yeah, of course, I will be having my own inspector come in. I'll pay for them to look at the site, give me impressions, and to let me know if you guys are doing a good job. By the way, I forgot to mention, if you have a question about Costa Rica real estate because you're in the market, do be sure to email me to matt@cbpacificrealty.com. Don't want to offer any spoilers on the football game that's been going on so far, but you would have seen me react pretty strongly in one direction or another if anything big had happened. So take your guess. The second item I wanted to touch on, a question that one of my most frequent viewers, constantly brings this up, and I believe it's John Miller. I had to suddenly come up with these questions to just have some content today, to be honest. but I think it's John Miller who has asked me a million times about Law 9996. This is the Pensioners Investors Law here in Costa Rica that was basically, they passed it really to the excitement of a lot of expats looking to invest in Costa Rica, because you only had to, it set the level for investor status residency to $150,000. And it also created tax incentives for foreigners to come down here, and created a loophole for taxes, etc. Essentially, it's the law that allows you to bring in a container of goods to Costa Rica. If you are watching today and you wanted to find out more about this law, I highly suggest that you Google Law 9996 in the news today. Yesterday, President Rodrigo Chavez signed into law the reglamento that is associated with Law 9996. This had already been passed by Congress, I think 18, maybe 20, 24 months ago at this point. And in Costa Rica, there is usually a huge gap between a law being passed by the legislature and it actually being implemented on the ground through the reglamento, or the real sort of structure of how the bureaucracy works. I don't know too much on this subject because A, it happened yesterday, and B, I was just looking for something to touch on. But yes, Rodrigo Chavez signed a reglamento related to this law, supposedly simplifying things and finally creating the framework for actually implementing that law. Whether or not next week you're going to be able to import a car and not pay the import duties, that remains to be seen. And as a frequent commentator on Costa Rica in general, I would still say, wait for any real absolute, process to be formed. But it was good news for anybody who's been waiting on that law to see movement yesterday. So anyhow, wanted to touch on that because frequently we've had somebody asking about that. Wanted to quickly go through the comments here. Remember, you can submit a question or a listing if you'd like me to add on comments. Oh, Quintas Palo Alto in La Fortuna, a request by Emery. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and just a second. I'm going to try and pull this up here. Quintas Palo Alto in La Fortuna. And you don't need a QR code for this one, folks. You should be able to just bring it up in a web browser if you're on a second device. And I'm going to bring this up here. So obviously, La Fortuna is an area that I am only roughly familiar with. However, I have gone up there recently a couple times. Really, I enjoy connecting with Michael Allen up in that area. And first thing that I always do in looking at a potential development is to bring it up on Google Maps. And here I want to just quickly give my offhand impressions of the location based on what I had recently seen. And I'll have to permit me just one moment while I bring up on Google Maps here. You can see this location outside of La Fortuna. And if I were just to rough guess it here, I would say we're looking, okay, 2,000 feet is that on Google Maps. We're talking 2,000 feet quickly translated to any sensible measurement. But you can see you're off the main highway into this rural, beautiful area. I actually went and saw a few properties back there with Michael Allen. I've been meaning to play those clips at some point. But this whole area, what it really seems, I was absolutely enthralled by the possibility in this particular part of La Fortuna and the stuff off the highway, especially because you've got really a tourist town at La Fortuna, and it has quickly become very touristy, and a lot of people are actually a little bit disappointed. But when you drive through town currently, you see at every street corner a major theme restaurant or this touristy kind, tours, ATVs, rentals, everything is really there. I am sure that this area is soon going to have really good healthcare options and really good private school options, because you can just see the possibility for expat development. But I think it's still not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have all of that. But I see a huge amount of potential in the area overall, because yes, you have this beautiful highway through La Fortuna. It connects you to the Central Valley. It connects you to Costa Rica. It's just a gorgeous part of the country. The temperatures are mild. And yeah, you have a strip of restaurants that are going to appeal to a huge international audience. I've seen in Tamarindo just how much people love to visit because they can get amazing food from all over the world. And it's one of the things that's a key sort of amenity for people. I would definitely think that that area will see reasonable development. If you have a specific question, Emery, about the Palo Alto in La Fortuna, you can post it, no problem. I'll try and answer more specifically. But overall, I do see that that area would just be a gorgeous place to live. If they have a 20 million Colon piece of property for sale, I would imagine that's going to be just a smaller, undeveloped lot. And if so, that to me sounds like a very, there are few pieces of land for sale with good utilities and access under $40,000 in any part of the country where you can get to a place like La Fortuna. So yeah, $40,000 for a small undeveloped lot, if that's what they're selling, would sound in the realm of what you see even out here in Guanacaste. If you can rely on somebody from Facebook when they're the same from multiple people. That's a really good question in general, about real estate and trying to figure out who is who online. And yes, if you're hearing from multiple legitimate personalities on Facebook that the development is going well, great. But absolutely, I wouldn't be judging any place that I was actually going to spend money without visiting it and being there on the ground. Facebook is an easy tool that's open to anybody on earth to advertise property. And your research must be on the ground to really finalize whether you want to do an investment there. Go out there, get in touch with local experts, people who really know the real estate market there. Offer to pay them a 3% commission. You're going to pay $1,200 on $40,000 for a lot to have somebody who actually knows that area solidify your guidance. And I would definitely advise talking to someone like that. They probably have 919 square meters as a comparable lot somewhere else that they can show you. Anyhow, once again, just to keep you in tune with, if you're just joining us, this is Matt's Real Estate Forum. It's actually episode number 3. But every Thursday, live at noon, we're answering questions about listings from viewers like you. We did have one actual listing I wanted to bring up in the broadcast today. And was that actually the one that I had wanted? Oh, shucks. And let's see. This is where I know that Dimitri might be watching this remotely. And I'd have to ask him. So is listing number 1 now? Black Stallion Estates. Okay. Dimitri, please send me that link. If you're viewing live online, you can look at this QR code. I'm going to wait for Dimitri just to send it here. Give me just a moment here. We are still really not... If you're also just tuning in live, I'm keeping tabs on an extremely important match between FC Barcelona, aka Barca, and Man United. And it really seems like Dimitri does not have nearly a stable enough internet connection. So actually what I can do is pull up the QR code on my phone. I guess that's a pretty darn easy solution. Here we go. Interesting. This is Casa de Madera. And let me pull up the brightness here. This is a really cool looking home. You've got full teak construction. I can just quickly give you a glance here if you haven't been able to pull it up on your own phone. A viewer had asked about these properties over here. It's a listing from Point Two Homes, which, as we've discussed, you really have to verify directly with a listing agent that it's an active listing. But I recognize this construction from an area that is actually just off a major highway connecting us from here to Tamarindo. In Black Stallion Hills. So essentially, these types of properties, this is listed at $395,000 at a 1,500 square foot home. It also comes with one of these standard 5,000 square meter or 1.25 acre parcels. That's an agricultural parcel, which you would see in subdivisions that were done with private access. I mention that because immediately this kind of property, if the viewer was hoping to use it commercially, being back in Black Stallion Hills in one of these agricultural subdivisions with the 5,000 square meter lots, you're not allowed to do a commercial business unless you essentially pay to get the uso de suelo changed at the municipality. But at $395,000 for a 1,500 square foot home, one of the things that I would mention is that, you're always weighing the balance between, could I build this myself for something lower? Could I save money by essentially tackling the challenge of construction in Costa Rica? I do think that with this particular type of construction, a teak home is one of the really efficient ways that people are putting up good, livable, nice, and sort of rustic themed properties here in Costa Rica. And at 1,500 square feet, honestly, I think you would end up having to pay, I really shouldn't even delve into the numbers for the construction. I do want to suggest, though, that this may be one listing where, yes, a person could purchase a similar agricultural lot in the area. I would say that they'll have to spend, with a bad location, they would have to spend at least $70,000 or $80,000. With a better location, you would see it go up to like $125,000 or a bit more. You could put a construction and finish the property for a bit under what somebody is asking for the full property at about $350,000. One of the frequent reasons that people buy the home rather than attempting the construction project themselves is becoming more apparent. I meet more and more people for whom the process of moving to Costa Rica was stressful, difficult. It cost more money than they planned, and it really turned into something that wasn't enjoyable because they built themselves. I've got some people, like my Spanish-speaking clients, who know the area, who are great at working with contractors, etc. They can build successfully with zero stress. A lot of foreigners find that no matter how you swing it, it's going to be stress and more money than you plan. So these sorts of properties that are just turnkey do have a ton of value just in the fact that you, as somebody purchasing a Black Stallion Hills home, are just going to be able to come down on your next trip and enter your home rather than having to deal with a long, at times arduous process of construction. Just quickly want to check back here. One viewer had a very interesting question that I wanted to answer. Mark White, other than your primary residence, do you own any property? I do actually own 3 vehicles, because to have 2 functioning vehicles and ensure 100% that I can be a touring realtor, that my wife can get the kids to and from school, 100% of our schedule, we have to have a 3rd vehicle so that one can be in the shop. And honestly, the rotating maintenance on 3 cars in Guanacaste, when you're driving people on as many tours, they might as well be condos, with the maintenance fees and all of the money that we end up, just putting into having 3 usable cars so that we don't end up in a pinch. And really, right now, it's Anne Marie's car that's at the shop. We've got the old car and the new car, and as soon as hers gets a few things repaired, we'll be rotating, the very old car back for an alignment. So anyway, you just continually invest in that. And definitely, I feel that, we have our primary residence, 3 cars. We also own 7 laying hens, 4 ducks, 2 dogs, and a cat. Though, the utility of some of those things is definitely debatable. I wanted to move on really quick here. Listing number 2, and I'll get out my camera here. Scan the QR code, as everybody should be doing at home. We'll leave it up here so that you can review it. The next listing is a $690,000 5th acre lot in Tamarindo, 0.15 acres. So really, it's more like a 1/6 of an acre. At $690,000, with an absolutely epic view out towards Grande and the north side. This is actually a listing I would assume is Concrete Road. Okay, actually, no. I think it's not in one of the gated communities. It is either Concrete Road. Is it in? My biggest question on this particular listing is whether it's in one of Tamarindo's luxury gated communities, or based on the fact that the listing does not specifically mention that it's within the exclusive gated community X, Y, or Z. I would actually guess that this is in one of the entrances that is not, it's basically a public road access lot in Tamarindo. I would actually guess, if I were to bring up the Tamarindo area here, I would guess it's got the ocean views facing out towards Grande and this estuary are on this hillside. So it's either up on the road that goes above the Westin, in this area, or it's back in here in this entrance. But one of those two, basically what we're looking at here is the fact that at the moment there is very scarce ocean view real estate in Tamarindo available. And there's also an incredible demand for it, because people have seen just how little ocean view inventory there is in Guanacaste that also puts you close to a community. You can find amazing jaw-dropping views on the remote hillsides of Guanacaste just about anywhere, but location, it doesn't really matter if it's absolutely in the middle of nowhere. With a lot that is in Tamarindo right now, an asking price of $650,000 for 0.15 acres is not at all beyond the realm of, reasonable prices for land. Most recently, you had another very, a small terrace with a view down to the surf that sold in the high 400s. That lot, I can't remember the exact size, but it was basically an ocean view home site, and it did sell closer to 8 or 10 months ago. So right now, yeah, if you have one of those epic views in Tamarindo, your options to buy, are senderos. You can buy, there's a couple available over in Tamarindo Park. There's the hillside over by the Westin, and really not many places that offer you that opportunity. And anybody with those views is sitting at, again, a really important nexus where they've got amazing view plus access to Tamarindo. And in Guanacaste, that's like finding, it's very, very rare. I was going to say Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is not nearly as in demand anymore as when I had started making that reference. But anyhow, that's sort of my overall thoughts on looking at $650,000 0.15 acre lot. We have a question from Trevor Kennedy. Are there any property management companies you recommend for the San Juanillo area? San Juanillo is a place that I am only beginning to really explore more, and to go back to trusty Google Maps and bring it into context for people here. Let me bring up. Here we are again. San Juanillo is down here to the south of Junquial by about 30 minutes right now because the highway is in beautiful shape. Property management firms there, I would guess, are few and far between at the moment, simply because there's never been a huge demand. There's never been the significant quantity of quality rentals in a single place to support that kind of, foreigner-friendly property management firm to move into town. I do know there's a guy named Stevie. I don't want to give his full name online. I've seen a lot of his signs there, and I know that, for example, in this area up here, which is the Finca Los Sueños community here, they've had success with that person. If you go through the area, you definitely see Stevie's signs and get his contact info. That's sort of the person that comes to mind. I have one personal reference that absolutely says he's a great person, and that's about the extent of references I have directly for people in San Juanillo at the moment. If you happen to be a San Juanillo property manager watching right now and you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to. But anyhow, folks, as I promised, if you are interested in real estate listings here in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, especially anywhere near the Tamarindo area, don't hesitate to chime in with a comment, even if you're watching this as a replay. Post your listing, give a description of what you want to know about it, and next week on Thursday, February 23rd, I'll be more than happy to bring up the QR code, give my general comments and impressions. But for now, folks, I'm happy to say that I'm going to sign off, catch the second half of this beautiful football game evolving to my left. Thanks very much for watching, and have a good one.